Today's class will be given by Her Grace Paurnamasi Mataji. She is well known to our congregation. She doesn't need any introduction. We are all know very well. So Mataji is core member of our congregation and practicing bhakti more than a decade. Mataji is a wonderful singer and excellent in presentation. She does a lot of temple services. Some are like tenant management, deity place decoration, uh, keeping flower vases for deities, and she is a coordinator for Saturday BG classes as well. With that, we will welcome Purnamasi Mataji with loudly chanting one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Purnamasi Mataji, over to you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. We'll first start with Jai Radha Madhav. Ananya is going to help. Yeah.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari
Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari
Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari
Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari
Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yeah. Just a minute. We're just taking off the harmonium from here. So, thank you, Satrupa Prabhu, for that introduction. I am not qualified, but as I was preparing for this class, I was thinking it is not for anybody to hear or listen and be this thing. It is more for as a part of purification for my own self, as I was reading through this verse and trying to understand what it means for me. As I was just looking at it from that perspective to share how it helped me to understand this verse. So, ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाखया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तां सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। ताप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। मुखं करोति वचनं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातम् अहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणम्। So before I begin the today's verse, I just wanted to share this Bhagavad Gita, which is actually a conversation between Arjuna and Krishna, where he's asking questions and Krishna is answering him, clearing his misconceptions and doubts. The current verse which I'm going to be talking about is 18.66. It is one of the concluding verses in the Bhagavad Gita, which is also instructional. Reason being, till 2.7, Arjuna is actually speaking to Krishna as a friend. And after this, he surrenders to Krishna and accepts him as his teacher. So today's verse that I was asked to read is 18.66. Sarva dharman parityagya mamekam sharanam raja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha. Would anybody like to recite?
सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वं सर्वं पापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः।
Sarvadharman paritejya mama ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishami ma suchaha.
सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वा सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः.
सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वां सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः.
Thank you. So the translation goes, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Would anybody like to read the purport?
I can read, Mataji.
Okay.
The Lord has described various kinds of knowledge and processes of religion: knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, knowledge of the Super Soul, knowledge of the different types of orders and statuses of social life, knowledge of the renounced order of life, knowledge of non attachment, sense and mind control, meditation, etc. He has described in so many ways different types of religion. Now, in summarizing Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that Arjuna should give up all the process that have been explained to him. He should simply surrender to Krishna. That surrender will save him from all kinds of sinful reactions, for the Lord personally promises to protect him. In the 7th chapter, it was said that only one who has become free from all sinful reactions can take to the worship of Lord Krishna. Thus, one may think that unless he is free from all sinful reactions, he cannot take to the surrendering process. To such doubt, it is here said that even if one is not free from all sinful reactions, simply by a process of surrendering to the Sri Krishna, he is automatically freed. There is no need of strenuous effort to free oneself from sinful reactions. One should unhesitatingly accept Krishna as a supreme savior of all living entities. With faith and love, one should surrender unto him. The process of surrender to Krishna is described in the Hari Bhakta Vilasa 11.676. Anukuleshya Sankalpa Patikuleshya Varjanam Rakshayatiri Vishwaso Goptritve Varanam Tada Atma Nikshepa Karpane Sadvida Sharanagriti. According to the devotional process, one should simply accept such religious principle that will lead ultimately to the devotional service of the Lord. One who may perform a particular occupational duty according to his position in the social order, but by executing his duty, one does not come to the point of Krishna consciousness. All his activities are in vain. Anything that does not lead to the perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness should be avoided. One should be confident that in all circumstances, Krishna will protect him from all difficulties. There is no need of thinking how one should keep the body and soul together. Krishna will see to that. One should always think himself helpless and should consider Krishna the only basis for his progress in life. As soon as one seriously engages himself in devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness, at once he becomes freed from all contamination of material nature. There are different processes of religion and purificatory process by cultivation of knowledge, meditation in the mystic yoga system, etc. But one who surrenders unto Krishna does not have to execute so many methods. That simple surrender unto Krishna will save him from unnecessarily wasting time. One can thus make all progress at once and be free from all sinful reactions. One should be attracted by the beautiful vision of Krishna. His name is Krishna because he is all attractive. One who becomes attracted by the beautiful, all-powerful, omnipotent vision of Krishna is fortunate. There are different kinds of transcendentalists. Some of them attached to the impersonal Brahman vision, some of them are attracted by the super soul feature, etc. But one who is attracted to the personal feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and above all, one who is attracted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna himself, is a most perfect transcendentalist. In other words, devotional service to Krishna in full consciousness is the most confidential part of the knowledge. And this is the essence of old Bhagavad Gita. Karma yogis and empiric philosophers, mystics and devotees are all called transcendentalists. But one who's a pure devotee is the best of all. The particular word he used here, Mahsuchaha, don't fear, don't hesitate, don't worry, are very significant. One may be perplexed as to how one can give up all kinds of religious form and simply surrender unto Krishna. But such worry is useless. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Atmamaya Mataji, for that beautiful translation of the purport. Thank you so much. So, just going back, this particular verse gives us so much assurance that Krishna is there and Krishna is going to protect if we take shelter of him. So that gives us so much assurance. So going back, sarva dharmam parityajya, he says, give up all varieties of religion or dharma. Mam ekam sharanam vraja, surrender unto me alone, which means not demigods, not others. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo, I shall deliver you from all the sinful reactions. Moksha ishyami ma suchaha, do not fear or worry. This is definitely one of the most assuring verses in Bhagavad Gita. So parityagyaya is abandoning or giving up all varieties of dharma. So now we are reading Gita. Gita is like a dharmic book, and Krishna is concluding Gita, and it kind of says like Gita is asking us to give up all dharmas. What does it mean? That is what we are going to discuss here. But the literal meaning here it says is give up all varieties of dharma. Then when Krishna says that, then what are you doing? He says, Maam ekam sharanam vraja. Maam ekam means only me. And sharanam vraja means take my shelter or surrender unto me alone. So when we give up all dharmas and religion and take my shelter alone, Krishna says in essence that Bhagavad Gita is not just rejecting all the dharmas, but actually it is focused on following the supreme dharma, which is to take shelter of Krishna. And ultimately all dharmas are meant to, what is the point of all the dharmas? To bring us to the point of completely surrendering ourselves to God. And that is what Krishna says here. And when we do that, what happens? Aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha isyami ma suchaha, which means aham tvam means I will, I shall. Moksha ishyami, deliver you or liberate you or free you from what? Sarva papebhyo, which means the sinful reactions, from all sinful reactions. In the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we've seen Arjuna was like very fearful at that he's, by killing all his relatives and in the war, he said he's going to accrue of a lot of sinful reactions. If I kill so many people on the battlefield, I will incur so many sinful reactions. So Krishna says, I'm going to relieve you of all those sinful reactions. Don't worry. Ma suchaha. Here it says again, do not worry. So when we take shelter of Krishna, we need not worry. And that is what Krishna is saying. And even in the 9th chapter, 22nd verse as well, where he says, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana pariyupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. So one who completely takes Krishna, the shelter of Krishna, without thinking of anyone else, is given all kinds of protection by Krishna. So the meaning where it's whose minds are always absorbed in me, and I provide what they lack and preserve what they have. That's such a beautiful, again, a very assuring thing of the things that we may lack. Krishna says he'll provide it and he'll preserve what we already possess and protect them from all calamities. So Krishna again, clearly he says again and again, he keeps saying that you should not worry. When you take my shelter, I become your caretaker, your well-wisher, and you don't need to worry. And in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Arjuna says, "Oh Krishna, I am completely dharma sammuda cheta." So I'm very confused. I'm completely confused by my dharma. This is in chapter 2.7. He says, "Karpanya dosho pahatasva bhava prachami tvam dharma sammuda cheta." So here, and then at the next part, he says, "Yak shreyasya nishitam bruhitanme shishyastuham sadimam tvam prapannam." So Arjuna says here he's so confused with all the following of so many dharmas, and now and so far the dialogue has been going on between Krishna and Arjuna as a friend, and this is where he's stepping down and he says, "Now I'm in a situation where I'm so overwhelmed with so many things that I'm very confused, and at this stage, Krishna, please accept me as my disciple. I want you to be my teacher." And that's when Krishna says, and as part of that, in this verse, he's basically saying, so now you sarva dharman parityajya, so you give up all these varieties of dharma and take my shelter, because when you take my shelter and you accept my guidance and follow my instructions, that is your supreme dharma. So supreme dharma of living beings is to follow instructions of Supreme Lord. And we are all children of Krishna. As in the verse, Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, verse number 7, he says, "Mamai vamsha jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatanaha." Mamai vamsha jiva loke is, you are all amshas, or we are all his children. And again, Krishna in chapter 14.4, he says, "Sarva yonishu kaunteya मूर्तया संभवन्तिया tasam brahma mahadyoner aham bija pradapita," which means here Krishna again is saying he's a seed giving father. So we are his children, we are his part and parcel, and he's saying he's the seed giving father. And just like how the child gets supreme welfare and success by being under the shelter and protection of the loving father, their parents, and follow the instructions and well-wishing advice of the father, similarly, Krishna is our loving father, Krishna is our eternal father, and by taking his shelter, we attain all the success and we are always protected. And our parents are protectors only for this life. Imagine for all our lives, how many birth after birth we have taken, that Krishna is our supreme father. He is our eternal father waiting for us to come back home. And that is such an assurance that there is someone who is in our lives guiding us, protecting us, irrespective of how the circumstances are, how things may change, relationships change, people change, but that relationship with Krishna is something that is never changing, and that is something constant. And as human beings, and me especially, I always look for something that is constant, and this is very assuring that Krishna says, I am always there. I am not going to change in the way I'm looking at you. And that's very assuring for me. And again, when Krishna says dharma samhuda cheta, he speaks about so many dharmas. Like he says, talking about kula dharma, he's talking about kshatriya dharma, he talks about varna dharma, ashrama dharma, so many dharmas he's quoting from. Meditation, etc. And Krishna is also very patiently explaining to him in Bhagavad Gita. But ultimately, Krishna says, you come to the final conclusion of dharma, which is love me, serve me, and be under my shelter. And Gita here is not rejecting, but it is raising dharma to its ultimate summit. And what is that ultimate summit of dharma is to take shelter of Krishna. Mam ekam sharanam vraja. And Krishna says, sarva dharman parityajya, he says, giving up all dharmas, but the focus here is not giving up, it is going up. It is mam ekam sharanam vraja, which is the topmost summit, is to take shelter of Krishna. And by going up in the ladder of dharma, that is where we are trying to be in the topmost form of dharma. And bhakti means it is just not abandoning dharma or ethics or values, but we need to understand that what is most valuable. So bhakti is not abandoning dharma, but bhakti is integrating all dharmas, and all dharmas ultimately culminate in bhakti. Now let's talk about also what is dharma. Dharma has different meanings like religion, duty, law. And dharma is also sometimes translated as religion, but that is not exactly the meaning. Religion is actually is defined and understood as some spiritual belief which is based on faith. And when we identify with the body, then we identify with a particular caste, creed, gender, race, religion, and country. So the faith that is based on religion may change. One may have faith based on one may have faith in a particular process, and then suddenly they change their faith and they adopt another. So religion and or faith keeps changing from Hindu to Christian or Muslim to Hindu. Now those are some of the religions that we know that exist. Now let's talk about just Hinduism, and with whom most of us here identify ourselves with. How does this word like Hinduism even originate? The word Hindu actually originates from the Sanskrit word for river Sindhu. And the Indus River running through the northwest India into Pakistan received its name from Sanskrit term Sindhu. The Persians designated the land around the Indus River as Hindu as a mispronunciation of the Sanskrit word Sindhu. They could not pronounce Sindhu, and so it became Hindu. So if Hinduism is man-made, then what are we going to relate to? And we also need to remember, we are not this body. We are often told this, we are not this body, we are the soul. So that's where the oldest religion that we all know, that is a kind of a principle that is applicable to all living beings, is Sanatana Dharma. And we already went through what is the origin of the word Hinduism. Sanatana is eternal. And Dharma here contextually here means occupation. And it is also the oldest religion. Sanatana is eternal, universal principle that governs all humans. It's the oldest religion. So when we talk about Sanatana Dharma, it's like it talks about, we can relate to it. Like, for example, as human beings, we are either rendering service to oneself or we are rendering service to others. There is never a moment that we are not doing anything, like pretty much actually hanging, unless we are in Brahman and just hanging there. As long as we are here, we are doing something. Either when we are eating, we are satisfying our hunger. When we are listening to music, we are satisfying our senses. Then seeing something, we are giving some kind of a sense enjoyment for our eyes. So we are either doing that through sense objects. We are trying to satisfy the senses. Or the second thing is we are always rendering service to others. Like we work to support our family, then we support our community, we support our spouse, kids, in-laws, society, community, and nation. So other than this, have you ever wondered, like, what are we always doing? I mean, we are either doing service to ourselves or service to others. So and what is the purpose of doing the service? We are doing the service to seek happiness. And dharma actually means that which one cannot give up and that which is inseparable from oneself. So, like, for example, when we see the fire, the warmth of fire is inseparable from the fire. Therefore, the warmth is called dharma, or the nature of fire. Can we separate that out? Similarly, if you look at liquid, for instance, liquidity, that property cannot be taken away from water, nor can you take away heat from fire. So, Sanatana Dharma refers to that activity which cannot be changed. Similarly, the eternal function of the eternal living entity cannot be taken away from the living entity, which is service. So, similarly, Sanatana Dharma means eternal occupation. So, irrespective of where we belong, which country, which caste, which religion, the Sanatana Dharma, that is the service to ourselves, service to others, that is a unique, generic, eternal principle that is kind of common for everybody. And I also was reading through the 6 pillars of Sanatana Dharma, where it talks about truthfulness, where our first pillar is truthfulness, where one should always speak the truth, stand up for the truth, and side with the truth. Compassion is being compassionate to all our brothers and sisters, and thus we have to be kind to our brothers and sisters. And this teaching is unique to Sanatana Dharma, and it comes from the most merciful person, Lord Krishna. Kindness to animals is practiced by not killing them. vegetarianism and no leather, and then treating people equally, nicely, considering the well-being of everyone. And we also don't consume alcohol, we don't gamble, no drugs, nor do we have relationships outside our marriage, because they cause sufferings to the families and especially to the women and children. So hence we are refraining ourselves from the sinful activities. The third one is austerity, living a simple life, not being too materialistic, eat simply, fasting, and not making too many demands on others, lowering our ego, chanting the Vedic mantra, reducing our desires, lust, and going to pilgrimage for on holy places. Cleanliness, taking bath at least once a day, brushing teeth, keeping the home, business, work area, public area, rivers, streets clean by regularly cleaning and not throwing trash. Charity, donations, again, we give them on a regular basis to accountable and worthy temples, to those engaged in the service of God, and for those engaged in preaching the glories and instructions of God, and to the poor. Last but not the least is spiritual education. The Vedic knowledge is eternal and it is vast, and with more than 800,000 verses compiled by God Himself in person. And we know that they provide knowledge in all areas of life and the science of God. The Srimad Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Vedic knowledge, the word of God in person. The Srimad Bhagavatam has pastimes of God and history of humans dating back to creation, that is 522 trillion years ago. Only the Vedic scriptures contain the pastimes of God and His description. So one should study these two scriptures on a regular basis, and especially the children. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse 13, Samsiddhir Hari Toshanam, which means we are all meant to please Lord Hari. So Sanatan Dharma talks about we have to render, we are always doing service. Now with Srimad Bhagavatam, we are trying to understand what is the topmost service of God, of human beings. Is it just service? Is it just only please ourselves and please others? What is our topmost? So this is where, quoting from this chapter 1, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse 13, Samsiddhir Hari Toshanam, which means we are all meant to please Lord Hari, serve Lord Krishna, to make him happy and satisfy. And in trying to satisfy that Supreme Lord, we also get satisfied. So as per Bhagavatam, it talks about like when you beautify yourself with jewelry and clothes, that reflection is automatically decorated. We don't put that ornaments on the mirror. So we only need to decorate the person, and that reflection automatically becomes beautiful. Similarly, since we are all the amshas of Krishna, trying to please and serve Krishna, satisfying Krishna, thereby we automatically become satisfied. In Canto 1, Chapter 2.6, Savai Pumsam Paro Dharma Yato Bhakti Radoksaje Ahaituki Apratihata Yayatma Suprasidati. For us to derive to ultimate satisfaction, we need to try to satisfy Krishna. That is Samsiddhir Hari Toshanam. Now, with this instructional verse from Krishna, he's basically saying that the eternal occupation is engagement in the transcendental loving service or surrender to Krishna. That is the next step in Sanatana Dharma, the pinnacle of Dharma. And here, actually, when Arjuna actually agrees to fight in the war, he's not accepting, he's not saying, yes, I will fight because I'm going to fulfill my Kshatriya Dharma. He actually agrees to fight in the war because it pleases Krishna. And that is the part of the bhakti process. And the role that Arjuna plays is not that of a Kshatriya, but he's in the role of a devotee. And we know Krishna has always, time and immemorial, he said that Krishna has appeared on this planet as per this verse, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanardhaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So Krishna has appeared on this planet as he wanted to establish dharma. And he asked Arjuna to assist him in order to establish that dharma. And in following this dharma of Krishna, of serving Krishna, by assisting Krishna, many other dharmas come into picture. So Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityagya. So give up all these dharmas. Just follow this ultimate dharma, that of taking my shelter and following my instructions, because I am your supreme well-wisher. I know what is good for you and what is good for these Kauravas, so who are also confronting you. That's what he says to Krishna, Arjuna. So Bhagavad Gita is not recommending just to give up all the dharmas in the end, but he's recommending to follow the ultimate dharma of taking shelter of Krishna and molding our lives according to Krishna's instructions. So it is bhakti that integrates all dharmas, and all dharmas culminate in Krishna's bhakti, samsiddhir haritoshanam. The focus here is not rejecting the dharmas, but accepting parodharma, loving surrender to Krishna. And Krishna is freeing us from all the dharmas. When people read this verse, Sarva Dharman Parityagya, they think that, oh, I have got freedom from all dharmas, I don't need to follow. No, the focus is not freedom from dharma, the focus is on the essence of all dharmas. The essence of all dharmas is to love God. And essential dharma that we need to follow is to love Krishna. And by loving Krishna, we automatically follow his instructions. And Krishna is not also focusing on what we have done, where we have been, but we have been through various situations in life, millions of births, our added baggage from all our lifetimes. But Krishna says, do not worry, Masuchaha, do not worry. He says, I will relieve you from all your sinful reactions and you don't worry. Relieving from all sinful reactions is my job, and you don't need to fear or lament. And when we come into this loving bond that sets us free from all sins, obligations, material desires, and material world itself. And that is so assuring. When Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Parityagya, he promising freedom from all other material duties. When he says, Mamekam Sharanam Raja, he's again inviting us all into his loving bond and embrace. And by agreeing to follow my instructions, I will give you all freedom from material desires and obligations and protection from all sinful reactions. And our freedom actually lies in our bondage with Krishna. And here, actually, bondage means love for Krishna. We are freed from other material obligations and sinful reactions when we enter into this loving relationship with Krishna. And the conditioned souls are somehow bound by material laws. But if we are bound with a loving relationship with Krishna, then we are automatically get freed from the bondage that we have with material laws and material reactions. In this way, actually, Krishna concludes his teaching of Bhagavad Gita, which is actually very, very heartfelt, loving note. And he gives us this full assurance to each one of us that he is always our protector. And something that the culture we come from, we know we have 32 million gods in Hinduism, and where Krishna is saying he's supreme, and still there is like a doubt in ourselves because we are so used to worshipping many gods. And I also come from a tradition where we used to pray God based on the days of the week. Monday it used to be Shivji, then Tuesday Durga Ma, Kartikeya, Wednesday Vishnu, Thursday it will be Sai Baba, Dattatreya, and Friday Santoshima, and Saturday Lord Venkateshwara, Hanuman, and Sunday it used to be Durga. And I used to often have these talk with my husband who was a Christian, and he has this monotheistic thing. There should be one God. There has to be like one God where he's like the supreme. And that's when I started to kind of dig deep into our culture as well. And then even when I joined ISKCON, Hare Krishnas always used to talk about Krishna. And why not? And I used to think, why not about Ganesha or Shiva or Parvati or none of the other powerful controllers or popular controllers? Why do we always talk about Krishna? And what is that proof that Krishna is God? And some people right now also, they just to become popular, they'll say, oh, Krishna, God does not exist. And they just get votes from the atheistic. Another person will say, God exists, but then all the names that you see exist, they are all one. Then the third person will say, oh, no, there is only one God, that is me. And then there is a fourth person who will come, who will say, everything is God. You are God, I am God, this is God, that is God. So there is so much of confusion, and that the G word has become so difficult to understand. And thanks to the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, that when he came to the West, or even when he preached in India, he never compromised or he diluted the conclusions of the scriptures to match the opinion of people. He kept the standard of the scriptures as it is, and he presented it, bridged it in a way that people could understand the philosophy. He never said Puranas say this, Upanishads say this, Vedas say this, Gita says this, Bhagavatam says this, and then you know what? Ultimately, Yathomat Tatopat. Reality is what you think it is. He never said that. He made it very crystal clear that it is not a cult. It is not that we believe in this unanimously because of some worldwide brainwashing. We are fixed in, and we are following this not by blind faith, but because of authenticated faith. So when we look to these revealed scriptures, words of God, wisdom texts and of Vedic age, and based on the conclusions of different shastras and scriptural injunctions, we put together and understand what realities are, or what reality is. So here Krishna is himself saying that he is the supreme, and we need to take shelter of his. And sometimes we are often taught that when we say that we are the doer, we are not actually the doer. So how can we even take credit for this? So when we look at when Krishna says, I am God, come to me, I surrender unto me, we are looking like, is Krishna proud? No. Krishna is not proud. Krishna is actually saying what he is. There is no pride in that he is. So that is the reason he's saying, if we say we are God, then definitely we are cheating. We are cheating others, because we are not capable of doing anything. We do not possess the opulences that Krishna has, the 6 opulences. We are nowhere to claim that we are God. But when Krishna, when we want the best things, like we always are shopping for the best thing, best teacher, best college, best school. Are we doing the best thing here? Are we following the best process? And even when tomorrow, even Krishna comes in front of us and stands, we look at him and we'll say, oh no, he's from some drama company. So that is the problem with people in Kali Yuga. We do not, it's not about blind faith, just follow. At the same time, even if the scripture is presented in a way, in its most truthful form, we still question. We still do not have that 100% faith in what are we doing, in whether we are doing the right thing. Is the process right? We always have these questions. So I was just going through few verses from Lord Brahma, where even he talks like Ganesha, Shiva and Durga. Also they talk about the position of Krishna. And in Brahma Samhita, in the conclusion of the Brahma Samhita chapter 5, text 50, Lord Brahma, he says, Yatpada Pallava Yugam Vinidhaya Kumbha Dvande Pranama Samayesa Ganadhiraja Vignan Vihantu Malamasya Jagatrayasya Govindhamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So here, when we look at this, here Lord Brahma actually links Krishna to Ganesha. He says, Yat Pada Pallava Yugam, which is the 2 lotus feet of Krishna, is kept on the head of Ganadhiraja, Ganesha, or Lord of the troops. And he gets the power to destroy the obstacles of all the 3 worlds, of all of the people in the 3 worlds. We know Ganesha is a popular personality. And in Mumbai and Pune, the Ganesh Chaturthi is celebrated with so much pomp and glory. So this is what Brahma has mentioned about Ganeshji's place. And what is his service? He is the one who takes all the speed breakers, but he gets that power to uproot those obstacles by holding the lotus feet of Govinda on top of his head. So such a wonderful expression to say how Ganesha acts as a perfect instrument. The actual glory of Ganesha is not to say that he's God himself. because that would make him feel uncomfortable, as that is not his position. But the actual praise or manner of glorifying Ganesha is how wonderfully he depends on the mercy of Krishna, how wonderfully he acts as an instrument in the hands of Sri Krishna. He's also the writer of scriptures, and he gets that power from Krishna. So he's teaching by example that when we are stuck in our obstacles, to get the strength to do our service, he's teaching us to hold the lotus feet of the Lord on our head. And in the same chapter, chapter 5, text 44 of Brahma Samhita, even position of Durga Ma is explained. And she's also a very powerful personality, and she's explained and glorified to be the fortress of this material existence. In Sanskrit, Ga means to go and Dur means not. Basically, Durg means it's a place where you shouldn't go, like a prison house. A jail is a place where you don't want to go, or it is very difficult to come. So the material world is Durga, a prison house where iron shackles are desires to enjoy, be it sexual desire, gross or subtle. And gross sex is sexual indulgence, and subtle sex is the desire to be recognized, acknowledged, desire to be honored, and which is so deep rooted in all of us. Puja, Labh, Pratishtha. So Durga Ma is the jailer of this fortress who takes care of this material existence. And what is her position? Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya, which means she is the Shakti, the external energy of Krishna. Durga does the service of Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya, which means creation, maintenance, and destruction. And she is the only external energy of Krishna, and that she is the jailer. And is she doing this independently? No. Ichhanurupam, which means she does or acts as per Yasya, his desire. Whose desire? Which means Krishna's desire. So to that Krishna, Lord Brahmaji says, I bow down. So I just wanted to go through these two just to kind of say how Krishna, to connect that Krishna is that supreme personality of Godhead, to whom we have to seek our shelter and always surrender unto him and not worry about our past, and just follow his instructions and surrender unto him. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Satyarupa Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji, for wonderful class. Devotees, anyone have any comments or questions or reflections want to share?
Krishna Mataji, wonderful class, Mataji. You covered the main aspect of to emphasize Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and how Krishna, through various agencies, various demigods, acts his energies. That is very wonderfully explained through various scriptural references, especially Brahma Samhita and various other quotes. Mataji, wonderful. Thank you for enlightening us, all of us, on this one. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Oh, it was all from lectures and all, Prabhu. So he's just trying to.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Very informative and descriptive class you gave, and very with a lot of intelligence. And it has helped me also to understand many of the things which I was not aware of and which you described today very nicely. Thank you very much for the wonderful class. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
You're very kind, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for the nice class. So much information you were just able to give from Prabhupada's purports, so how you have recited, as if you know the whole thing, and you do know the whole thing. So nice to hear that, Mataji. Do you want to complete that story where you thought why Krishna is not worshipped when you came? Just curious to know where you started to see that Krishna is the Supreme Personality, It's always interesting to hear like how devotees start to have that faith in Krishna. If you remember, otherwise it's okay. But thank you for the
No,
class.
yeah. I remember that. I mean, multiple, because as I was mentioning, I grew up in a tradition where my mom, every day of the week, it will be one God. And I used to always wonder, oh, on Tuesday, we are praying, is Monday Shivji getting angry? I used to have this question as while I was growing up, and then as I and I remember my dad used to laminate, so he used to do a lot of lamination pictures for Krishna, and I used to always look at the picture, and I used to wonder, every other god I have seen, they are meditating, and how this one person is there just with his flute and so beautifully he's standing. Who is this person? Like, I used to have that monologue with myself, like, who is this person who's always dressed so beautifully, and he's not meditating unlike the others. But if you look at other demigods, they're always meditating because they are meditating on the Supreme. So he's like, and then I understood that Krishna is like the root. And when we water the root, the rest of all the limbs are getting nourished. Like, for example, when I was like typing a lot of things, you think a chapati, if you put it on your hand, will it subside your hunger? No. Unless we eat, the stomach only gets satisfied, right? And once the stomach gets satisfied, all other parts of our body are getting nourished, all the limbs. So it's not like my mom has this feeling, oh, if we only worship Krishna, then all other gods are going to get angry. No, they are not, because they are already praising him. So it is only adding to that. They are more happy that we have found that ultimate, like how they have found. No, it's not like one god is going to get angry that they have left us and gone to Krishna. They are more happy for us. It's like the devotion and dedication with which you perform. I think that helps you to guide you to the actual the higher truth. That is how I look at it. With whatever practices I have done in the past, I feel that is where it has culminated to kind of reach that supreme path. Wherein I always heard, I know Satyasai Prabhu has always mentioned this, that whenever we do the karma yoga kanda things, that is only applicable to this janma. It's like, your bank account is set to 0 the minute you die. Just like how you have to learn your ABCs from the beginning, your debit card, credit card balance, all is 0, and you start from there. But when you have that relationship with Krishna knows, okay, this is from where you start. And that's what all devotees, we are not aiming for reaching Goloka. We all play that Krishna, wherever we are, we should not forget you. That is our ultimate prayer, that we should never forget Krishna. So that's how Krishna helps us to remember, and we start our journey from there. We are not starting from 0. I don't know where, I still don't know, maybe half step from there, probably we start there. That's all, Mataji, from my personal.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Thank you for sharing. Nice to hear that.
Hare Krishna.
Hare. Sorry. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Very nice class, Mataji. Very nice and informative class. Thank you so much for giving such a wonderful class, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Wonderful class. I just had a question, Mataji, that is it, I don't know, I don't recollect, but is it said that it takes many births to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that He is Supreme? Is that true?
Yes, that's what, yeah. It is our karma plus our fortune, things that we kind of even come into the association. And sometimes some people who even get into the association, we might feel that they have not taken it, but their spiritual journey has started. The minute they touch the book, they eat prashadam, they even hear Hare Krishna, they don't know what it has done to them. We don't know, but their spiritual journey has started. But we don't know when, because that is not our thing. It is Krishna. It is between Krishna and that person.
Wonderful,
Anything
Mataji.
else, Prabhu? Satyasar Prabhu, would you like to add something?
You beautifully explained it, but just one verse, maybe you can read, Murta Mataji. Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, Jnanavan Ma Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Krishna says in the 7th chapter that after many, many births and deaths, one surrenders to Krishna. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. After many, many births. So it's not given to us just like that. So we have to qualify. So for some people, maybe it is immediate because of the mercy of extraordinary Vaishnava.
Right.
But the general path is it takes many lifetimes.
Great. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Mataji.
Paurnamasi Mataji, nice class. Brilliant class. As always. Can I ask you a question?
Prabhu, I will run away now.
No. Speak from your realization, from your heart. Right? So why would devotees, why should we surrender to the Lord? So we recognize the Lord as a supreme. We recognize the process of bhakti. So we follow it. So why surrender is emphasized? I'm very curious to know from your own realization.
Yeah, from my realization, Prabhu, whenever good things happen, we always take it, oh, thank you, Krishna. But when something doesn't happen in our way and something happens very badly, we are very frustrated and we are overwhelmed and trying to understand why this is happening. And as a hindsight, after that, we realize what is it that we learn. I mean, there is always something that Krishna is teaching. Teaching us in that process, and only when we surrender that, whether good or bad, Krishna's hand is in it. I think that surrender is necessary. Otherwise, we'll never get that feeling, or we try to always put our this thing on people and circumstances and other things. But when we surrender, we are like, okay, Krishna, you're going to take care. You brought these people into our lives who are creating this. You are going to take care of this, or whatever the situation, circumstances, and things like that, Prabhu.
Beautiful answer, Mataji. Thank you very much. Thanks for the wonderful class.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm just regurgitating everybody, all the acharyas and great speakers who have spoken, and just regurgitating here. So thank you for listening and patiently hearing me out. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Devotees, any more questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Paurnamasi Mataji, very nice class. Mataji, I had a question, and you spoke to it a little bit, of how you transitioned from, praying to demigods to just praying to Krishna. Mataji, how did you, in your experience, translate that to like your parents or other people around you? Could you talk about that, Mataji? Like
I think it was little difficult because that culture is so much inborn in us. So one change that I did was, for Ganesh Chaturthi, we used to do the Korakatta, right? So I used to do that and offer to Krishna. So that way I felt that I'm not missing out. And, since Ganesha is also an instrument and he's doing service, and we are watering the root. So, and in many places I've seen they even dress up Jagannath ji in an elephant form. Like he has a separate elephant, they have this elephant dress, just like how Ganesh ji is. They dress him up like that. So I think that is where I think there's a shift in how you look at them. It's not that we are being disrespectful. It's not like trying to be like, like my mom, she told me, and I shared this with Satyasar Prabhu. She said, you joined here and you're doing like how Christians are. They took away all the other gods, she said. I said, no, we have not. We are not like fanatic throwing away and desecrating the other gods. That is not what we believe in. We are trying to understand that the root is Krishna. That is important. We are not trampling and standing on the other deities like other religions do. That is not our principle. Our thing is we respect their position. We understand that, it's like in an organization, right? Prashant Prabhu, you have your immediate boss, but you have your CEO. Do you think that you can go spit on your senior manager and just put your CEO on your head? No, right? You know your senior manager is having his place. You respect him for that. And when your CEO, and when you ask your manager, say, okay, I want to work from home, your senior manager gives you a thing, says, oh yeah, I cannot give you for this thing. You need to go to my manager. But if you have a paper from your CEO saying that, hey, you can work from home, do you need anybody else permission? It's just that. So everybody has a place. In an organization, you have so many, so many swim lanes, right? So many hierarchies, but it's not that they don't have they are also empowered. They are all human beings, but they have got that position because of what they have rendered service to Krishna. It's a position. So we need to respect, but at the same time understand and try to learn from them how to engage ourselves in Krishna's service.
Thank you, Mataji. That's a very nice, beautiful answer. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji, for the nice class. Any other questions before we are? Okay. Thank you, Mataji, for a nice class. So knowledge is required. Otherwise, we will carry it out by the popular things which might not be right. So thank you for the class, and it's very informative. Very nice class. So we will move on to the next part of the program. Like we'll have Narsimharti, and after that Radha Damodar Prabhu will do announcements before we are closing today's Sunday Fish program. So Narsimharti, Samanvita is doing. Samanvita.
Hare Krishna.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Narasimhamadin Sharanam Prapadye.
Dalitar
विभो तनु भृङ्गां निशवद्रीता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद यज्ञ विनाशक नरसिम्हा सेव भगवान की प्रहलाद महाराज की थैंक यू समन्विता Radha Damodar Prabhu will do announcements. Hare Krishna Radha Damodar